Hello everyone. I'm going to take you through my sound design process for the Artlist SFX challenge. Now, there has been an interesting turn of events throughout this journey, and I'm going to summarize it in such a way that it doesn't confuse or bore you. We're first going to look at the context, then the techniques I used, and then the final breakdown. I started the challenge on 27th of April, the deadline being on the 5th of May. And the main constraint is that we have to use the music and sound effects from Artlist only, apart from the production sounds. I'm not subscribed to Artlist, so I'm only going to use the free sound effects pack provided, and it consists of 30 odd sound effects, including atmospheres, risers, punches, glitches. It's like a diverse range of sound effects. To make it even more interesting, I intended not to use the music from Artlist and to just use the free sound effects pack to sample and make musical elements. I clarified this concern with Artlist and they said it was cool. I was stoked, they were excited, we went on. Now I go about doing the sound design and reach the mixing stage on the 2nd of May, at which point I get contacted by Artlist. Unfortunately, there was some miscommunication and I now had to incorporate the Artlist music. First off, I can understand the miscommunication problem. Artlist is a big company and the people handling the social media might not be aware of such niche requests like the one I made. Second, adding the song after doing the sound design isn't an ideal way to do the sound design. And third, rather than being sad, to be honest, this last minute setback made me even more excited to find a solution. And the good thing is, Artlist does have a diverse selection of songs. So I tried different songs, picked one that fit the tone, but to make it mesh well with the story, I went ahead and rearranged my edit. This might not seem like a big deal if you're editing in a video editing software, but when you do sound design for film, it's frowned upon because you work in the edit that has been picture locked. Which means when you move from the editing stage to the sound design stage, the video does not change. Unless it's absolutely necessary. In this case, it was. With everything said and done, let's get to it. Here's the final edit that I did the sound design for. It only consists of silence and production sounds. Alright, and with that out of the way, let's get into the actual sound design. The sound design on YouTube has become synonymous with fast-paced transitions, slow motion effects, and glitches. Many people do this wonderfully. They have a great intuition for sound design, but sound design is so much more nuanced than that. In essence, good sound design could tell a story by itself. So let's get into the conceptual techniques first and then specific techniques. Just like a good film has highs and lows, the sound design also has ranges. The tone of your film will tell you the tone of your sound design. The loudest part is louder if there's silence before it. So I'm going to create a sonic dynamic range throughout the film to give the maximum effect of each part. Just like a story has theme, your sound design as a whole should have a theme. My theme has to do with a psychotic struggle of the character. So creating loops and repetition helps me to accentuate that. For a 1-minute film, it's good to not overcomplicate your foundation, so this should be enough fuel. Layering in sound design is broadly misunderstood. Generally, when you're beginning, you might think layering more sound effects together will result in a fuller and more complex sound design. That is sort of true, but if not done right, it's harmful to your mix. Let me explain. Different sounds occupy different regions of the frequency spectrum. If you layer three sounds belonging to the same region, they compete with one another and make the aggregate sound quite muddy. Instead, layering elements that occupy different areas of the frequency range together ends up giving you a richer sound. You don't always have to layer, it comes down to how full you want the part to sound depending on the story beat. Now let's get into some main specific techniques that are used. Let's start our journey with the atmosphere of each sequence. With the limited choice in atmosphere sounds, I modified the ones I was given and I created my own atmosphere. I modified the ones I liked by removing unnecessary parts that took too much room and stitching it together and giving it more depth as if it belonged in the environment. I created my own synthetic atmosphere, like the howling of a wind, by putting a band pass on a sound effect that I thought has tonal similarities to the wind. I then added a heavy reverb to smooth it out, and then another band pass to control the spill. I used a Q factor to automate the wind noise to my bidding. I sampled almost every sound here, and Ableton is really good at it. So that's why I'm using it as my main DAW. Here's one example of how I sampled. For the starting scene, I sampled a part of the string sound effects and played the sound as a triad in the scale of B minor. I did that twice, once for the bass frequency and then another chord for mid-high frequencies. Then I layered them together. In effect, these are 6 layers of the same sound effect, sampled differently. You only end up seeing 2 layers here. This would be the case of most of my clips. And that's why if you've seen my main timeline, my tracks look empty. Okay, so it's time for the final breakdown. And as you can see, the time is 7:15 and the deadline is 8:30 according to my time zone. So let's do this real quick. These 3 tracks out here you see are the production sounds. This is the atmosphere, which I imported from Pro Tools. Similarly, I imported the same production sound, which is, let's just hear it, right? This as well I imported from Pro Tools. I did some cleaning and separated out the ukulele part and the dialogue part and got it into Ableton. Next up I have this scene. It's just layered together between the howling wind and the strings. So this part out here is the last bit of this loop over and over again. It has a low pass filter and it also is side chained to the ukulele, which basically means that when the ukulele plays, this will have an audio duck in the start. Makes sense. This is a riser. I've put an echo on that. And the song, I've chopped it up into like 3 different parts. This also has been side chained to the ukulele. Another riser. This is interesting. This is just the exhale part, but it also has been reversed and stitched together. And I've also automated the amplitude so it has this breathing, pulsating effect. Layering that up with this higher frequency sound just gives it a better touch. Oh, wait, yeah. This, in my head, is both of them talking. The higher frequency pitch is the woman and the lower frequency one is the man. And yeah, I know it sounds super weird, but in my head it makes sense. Yeah, I've never been to therapy. Anyway, this part is another similar glitchy sound. Kind of linked together with the light switching off. I've also automated this to have a better impact when the light goes off, sorry. Then we have, so this is a heartbeat that I've derived from a pulsating glitch of sorts. I've made it pulsating, but I've also pitched it down as it goes forward. And in the end, it also gets slower. I think I have sidechained that to this track because I want that heartbeat to be heard. It might get drowned within the sound, or else what do we have here? Aha, so these 4 tracks are basically him saying it's okay, but I've sampled them and changed their pitch, or I've added reverb or echo, so it sounds quite schizophrenic. Together it sounds. Couple that with everything else, it just mixes very well. So the breathing sound forms into a lower pitched breathing sound. Another riser. Tiger roar in the end. I've pitched it down quite significantly. And this is the looping sound, but I automate the low pass filter. It also has some sidechain happening. It also has a sidechain happening based on, I think, the ukulele, because the reverb is so strong that it drowns the ukulele sound as well. So when it hits out here, the sidechain kicks in. What else do we have? And this makes the whole thing quite fuller. It's been quite, before this, it's been quite silent, everything. Right? And suddenly we have a huge impact. So that's what I meant by the dynamic range of the sound design. I guess that's pretty much it. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. I'm signing out.